guys, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. And of course, in today's video, we don't gotta say it no more, but we have another one of our dramatic fanfiction recommendation. From the title of the video, you guys can tell that these are going to be idiots in love story. In my book, idiots in love are a story where they spend the majority of the timeline being idiots. Repulsive feelings for the other person, even though deep down they know that they are in deep denial of feeling because they are very good at that, and mutual pining because they refuse to communicate with each other. So if you are in for that vibe this summer, then this list is going to be a galore for you. Now, admittedly, I feel like this is not the best of my work. It's not among the greatest that I have ever made because I personally cannot do miscommunication well, because why can you not just talk to each other and solve many of your problem or all of your problems? So these stories that I put into this video today are on the shorter side of things, because shorter means faster and faster means that they get to the end a little bit earlier before I get stressed out, before I get frustrated. But these stories need to have the right amount of idiocy because we need that angst in our life, okay? Now, if you guys have already had your good time with my previous video recommendation where I have all bright love story for the summer, these stories are going to be good palette cleanser for you this summer because they're on the shorter side too. And now let's get the video started, shall we? First recommendation of the day, whenever I think about idiots in love, I think of Accidental Magic by Margarita Ma. This story is a marriage law story, but it has one of the most interesting and unique take on marriage law that I have ever seen in the Hermione fandom, because in this story, Hermione and the rest of the Malfoy, as in Lucius and Narcissa, are more susceptible and supportive of that match than our boy Draco, which is something that you would never see in a marriage law story because you know our boy Draco has already resigned to the fact that he will have an arranged marriage. Hermione, on the other hand, is repulsive of that idea. But we have the opposite in this story, which is why this story presents to you one of the most unique dynamic between Draco and Hermione that you will ever find. Like I have already said in the beginning, this story is going to have angst and the route to happiness is not going to be smooth. But when we get there, it's a good stuff. It will be heart squeezing angst for most of the way, and then boom, we have a super rewarding happy ending at the end, plus a bonus of supportive Narcissa and Lucius, because who doesn't want that? This story is one that I come back to read so many times. I would recommend, so you will have a good time with it, I guarantee. The second recommendation we have for today is Off the Cuff. You do not have to worry about writing prose or anything about this story. Off the Cuff is one of the very few stories that I have read on the miscommunication trope or the lack of communication trope, because they don't even talk to each other in this story. This story is among the stories that are like 98% angst and then 2% happy ending at the end, which is right up my alley because I'm made like that. When you get to the 2%, there's that one scene that will just make you gasp out loud. It's just that good. I would say that this story is on the similar side when it comes to plot, and because it's so short, there isn't a lot happening in this story, but the angst that you have is going to be stabbing, and the quality of the writing is going to make up for all of that because you will just have such a good time, okay? The next recommendation we have is Almost Nothing at All by My B Rating. This story will just be as My B Rating as My B Rating can get. So if you have been wanting to try a My B Rating story and you don't want to commit to a larger story, I would start with this one because this story is simple. It's just a journey of pining for one Draco Malfoy. The writing of this story though is the furthest away from simple as you can get because it's written in a retrospective and non-linear way with the most beautiful writing that you will ever be able to find. So you have a good time if you're into good quality writing with dramatic fanfiction. I remember I was so speechless after I finished reading this story, and I left a comment from My B Rating saying that I have no word because you have them all. And now, a while later, after I finished reading that story, I still feel the same way, and I feel like I don't have the word to review the story, so you guys just go there and read this story, okay? The next story is one that I love with my whole chest, and it is The Intricacy of Marriage by Curson. Now this story is another take on marriage law story, but it is so unique because Draco and Hermione are both trying to kill each other off to get out of the match. But when the opportunity presents for one of them to actually do harm to the other person, that's when we find out what real love is. The writing of this story will just make you laugh. It's done in such a witty and smart prose that it will just give you a good time. This story is just the definition of idiots in love, and if you wanna go there, fighting as foreplay. This story is just a special piece that forever live rent-free in my head and in my heart. If you guys need any more nudge, this story is on Senlin Yu, our great Senlin Yu favorite list of dramatic fanfiction. And that's how I found this story too, and I fell in love with it. And it is on my own personal favorite list as well. So I don't know if that matters, but go ahead and read this story because I guarantee that you will have a good time too with this story. The next recommendation, we have Pillow Talk by Purple Sugar Quill. Before I go into Pillow Talk, if you guys haven't checked out out Purple Sugar Quill profile yet, I would recommend you do so if you're in need of a shorter story, because Purple Sugar Quill is just the queen of that. Now, looking at the synopsis of this story, it sums up pretty well because we have like idiots with benefits here, and it takes them a very long time to finally get into what their heart desire. And so this video is just the perfect place for me to recommend this story to you guys. So story is one of the stories that they're just so stupid that it makes you smile like a loon when you read the story, and it kind of make you swoon a little bit even though they're just so stupid. I feel like this story is gonna be a good bedtime story. You guys know how I am with my dramatic bedtime story. I usually read something that makes me feel good and go to sleep smiling, but because the story is called Pillow Talk, it's only fitting, right? Next story, we have one from one of my favorite authors as well, and it is Lonely Toward Desire by P.H. Locke. Now, I would recommend checking out P.H. Locke profile too, because this author also have a lot of ammo. This story though, once again, is just a tale of how two people finally get into what their heart desire, but the journey for us to get there presents so many special moments that would just make your heart soft. Even though they're idiots, they are our idiots. I would say though that P.H. Locke talent no back, and if you're in for that silent Draco, for the doing everything saying nothing type of Draco, then you will have a good time with this story. The next recommendation makes me laugh a little when I was drafting this video, and you guys will know why in a second, because we have Minimal Risk by Galfoy. Now, it's been a while since I recommend a Galfoy story in my video, okay, because it used to be, is it gonna be one of my videos if I don't have a Galfoy recommendation in it? So it's good to get a reminder that Galfoy is my favorite dramatic fanfiction author, and I would read her grocery list because I've read all of her story already. In fact, this past month in July, I reread so many of Galfoy's story. So I feel like that says a lot about the impact that Galfoy has on me. If you guys have not checked out Galfoy's story, please go ahead and do so. So back to Minimal Risk. This story is a series of vignette story where they just see each other once a year on New Year's Eve for 3 years before they decided to do something about it. Out of the 365 days of a year, they only see each other once, but they spend the rest of the year, so the other 364 days, just reminiscing and like playing that scene that they interact with each other back in their head. There are just so much depth in this story that is shown in so few words for us to read. I feel like I already say a lot about Minimal Risk compared to the other story that I have in this list, so please go ahead and read this story, okay? The next recommendation also comes from one of my favorite dramatic fanfiction author of all time, and we have Take My Hand, Wreck My Plan by Another Lonely Writer. Another Lonely Writer writes beautiful short story too, so if you guys want some short story, I feel like the author in this list are going to be a good place for you guys to look. This story is also another series of vignette story, which is my favorite format when it comes to one shot or short story. And through this series of vignette, Draco Malfoy retell the tales of every time that he has danced with Hermione Granger. This boy, he is pussy whipped to the point that he memorized how she looks like during each of those dances, okay? What color is her dress, how she looks, he memorized everything. We have another show Don't Tell type of mutual pining here, and because it's Don't Tell, they never communicated, so we get this great piece of work to read. This is also one of the pieces that I come back to so often, and I feel like this is going to be the perfect bedtime story as well because it's just so precious. You will go to sleep so happy. The next recommendation, we also have another series of vignettes. This time we are going with Hatred 19, also one of my favorite dramatic fanfiction author of all time, so we are going strong with the author recommendation in this list. And the story is called The Nutcracker Powder. Please correct me in the comment down below if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, okay? Story is a story where they once again only interact with each other or see each other once a year, and this time is during the Nutcracker performance on Christmas or around Christmas. In this series of vignettes, we also have another mutual pining series because these people wanted to spend their time pining over the Nutcracker performance. I think the perfect way to describe this story is that it's full of yearning and the allegedly unrequited emotions. They still don't talk to each other, and so in turns we get another series of vignettes to read. This story is just so heartfelt and emotional, so I've always loved it, but of course it's Hatred 19 writing, so you guys already know that the emotion that we are about to experience is just intensified by tenfold. And I personally just love Christmas because I'm a December child. It's my favorite holiday of the year, so maybe I have a bias or something on this story, but you can never go wrong with the Hatred 19 story. So if you are looking for some winter air to combat this very hot summer outside, then I feel like this story is gonna be perfect. The last recommendation that we have in this video is Mr. and Mrs. Malfoy by P.H. Locke. So we have two P.H. Locke stories in this video, so you guys know to go ahead and check out this author profile. Mr. and Mrs. Malfoy is one of the stories that I have been repeatedly talking about or recommending in my recent videos, so you guys probably have already know how much I feel about this story already, but it just presents one of the most unique dynamic between Draco and Hermione that I have ever seen. And I've recently come across this post online that just perfectly describes the dynamic that Draco and Hermione share in this video. They tend to think that they're above the mask, above all of the emotional stuff that we experience, but the moment harm comes to the one person that they care about, all hell broke loose. This story though is super short, but it's gonna give you a perfect blend of adventure, actions, and emotions. It's just gonna give you an adventure to go on even though it's just super short. So if you want a quick read that can pack a punch, I would always recommend Mr. and Mrs. Malfoy by P.H. Locke. You will not be bored with this story with everything that's going on, the detail and the romance, everything is just chef kiss. So that's the end of our 10 recommendations for Idiots in Love short story. I know that this video is super speedy and it is super short, but I still want to make this video because I want to tell you guys that I'm moving. So this video will be one of the last, if not the last video that you guys will see this background. It's kind of a bittersweet moment because I've been in this house for 4 years. I cherish every memories that we made in this house, but at the same time, because I work from home, I feel like I've been in this space forever and I just needed some change. So if you guys see me absent from the channel for the next couple of weeks, you guys know that I'm just busy packing and unpacking, but I will try to get back to the video stuff as soon as I can, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye, love you.